I see you have returned, my dear listener. Did you not learn enough from the tale of the father? Well, please, allow me to tell you the story of the son. I'll drop you into his eyes so you may experience everything as he does. The ups, the downs, the woes. But just know, this story does not end on a pleasant note. I'll be honest with you guys, being the son of a wealthy congressman has its perks. I lived the life. Money, drugs, alcohol, women. I had it all. Now I'm sitting here, underneath this bridge, wrapped in an old ratty blanket, just trying to stay warm. It's all her fault. She made me do it, I swear. The Bible says women are supposed to be subservient to men, and when I came onto her, she turned me away? That stupid bitch. What kind of name is Veronica anyway? Sounds like a porn star. She was wearing this sequined red dress with a slit all the way up to her thigh that just screamed easy. So I made my approach. Those legs would look real nice wrapped around my neck. She scoffed at me and furrowed her brow, like I was some regular Joe. Tell me, how many women does that bullshit work on? I was confused because, well, obviously she had no idea who I was. Ah, my apologies. I'm Jacob Winston. My father is Samuel Winston. I'm very aware of who you are, your father as well. Who in the world does this bitch think she is? She puts on a red dress, throws on a push-up bra, dyes her hair blonde, and thinks her shit doesn't stink? It's women like this that need to be taught a lesson. I narrowed my eyes and regained my composure. Listen, I'm sorry. I should really think before speaking to people this way. Why don't you let me buy you a drink? 2 shots of Louis XII. She smiled and I nodded, making my way to the bar. I locked eyes with Ernesto, the bartender, and he made his way over to me. 4 shots of Louis XII. I nodded at him, and he nodded back. He made the drinks and brought them back to me. He pointed at the 2 shots on the left with his pointer and middle finger, and then pointed at me. I gave him a smile and scooped the shots up, 2 in my left and 2 in my right. You see, me and Ernesto had an agreement. He made shots, special for me, and I made sure his family stayed in this country. 2 shots on the left, straight cognac. The 2 on the right, a little cocktail of a good night's sleep. I returned to Veronica and handed her the 2 shots. Thank you, my dear rich boy. She smiled before tossing back both shots. I smiled greedily and sighed. Anything for a woman as beautiful as you are, my dear. I held out the last word, so she knew it was a question. Veronica, and don't call me dear. That's kind of my thing. I smiled as she began to sway back and forth. Ernesto must have fucked it up. He had put way too much in those shots for her to be feeling the effects already. Shit. Veronica, you don't look so well. Allow me to take you up to your room. My father's party isn't as important as your health. I stared around the ballroom of the hotel to see if anyone was watching. Please do. I'm so sleepy. I swear, I'll have Ernesto's entire family gone for this shit. How much did he put in there? I took her arm and led her as she stumbled out of the ballroom and made my way to the elevator. Which floor, my dear? I stopped. Veronica. It's the 15th floor. I pressed the button and stood with her arm draped over my neck. He might have used too much, but other than that, everything seems to be going smoothly. The elevator dinged at the 15th floor, and she let me know that her room number was 1508. She slid her room key out of her left breast and handed it to me, and gave me a very poor wink. I slid the key into the door, and we were inside. I slid her arm off of my neck and she spun as she fell, landing on her back, her legs hanging off the bed. I saw this as my opportunity. I began pulling up her dress and taking off other various items of clothing. I felt excitement well up in my chest as I removed them and tossed them aside. About a minute or so later, my body went limp on top of her, and I shook it off, standing straight up. That moron mixed the shots up. I stared ahead at her, trying to focus as my body swayed back and forth. She stood up to face me and smiled like something I had never seen before. The smile almost split her face in two. "What's wrong, my dear rich boy?" She put her right palm softly on my cheek, let the palm fall, swiping past my lips, and next thing I knew, her elbow was connecting with my jaw. I woke up some time later on a concrete bench inside of a cell. I popped up and ran for the door, placing my face against the window and beating my fist against the glass. "Hey, what's going on? Where am I?" An officer made his way past the window and stared at me. He looked back at the front desk, held up one finger, and made a circular motion in the air. I heard a metallic buzz and the door slid open. "Come with me, Mr. Rapist." "Rapist? I haven't done anything to anyone. Call my father, Samuel Winston. He will sort all of this out." "We have spoke to Senator Winston, sir. You are on your own." Panic immediately set in, and I started yelling at the officer. "Sir, I have done nothing to anyone, I swear." The officer looked me up and down. "So these photos we received from Miss Veronica Morningstar have all been fabricated. You didn't try to drug her?" I immediately recalled the incident from however long ago it had happened, carrying her up to her room, and the elbow I received shortly after. "She drugged me. Check the toxicology report, and I swear that you will find Rohypnol in my system." The officer looked me up and down. "Oh yeah? How do you know what you were drugged with?" My eyes went wide as I stared at him. "I want to speak to my lawyer." "Good idea, you piece of shit." The officer took my fingerprints and booked me in. My trial was swift, and my lawyer got me out after the worst 2 months of my life, even though the person overseeing my sentencing was none other than Judge Morningstar, Veronica's father. I met a man inside named Big Paul. I'll let you figure out why that is, and I allowed him to use me in return for safety. In all my years of my placing complete faith in the Bible, I had broken the cardinal rules, but I'm sure that a person as devout as myself could receive some kind of leniency. I mean, he has to understand. I found out shortly after that my father cut me off for having such a public fall, and when I got out of jail, I had nowhere to go. My friend, Stephen, got me a job in an auto garage, but my lack of experience and inability to learn got me canned quickly. So that brings me to now, at my bridge. I live under here during the rainy months. The others I stay out in a tent behind the local food mart. I make enough money, panhandling, to pay a $30 metro bill a month, so I can at least keep up with the current events. I'm honestly just fed up with how things are going, so I spend my time on Reddit, just screaming into the wind if I don't like something that someone posted. It makes me feel better. I was sitting under my bridge when a man made his way towards me. He parked his car on the side of the interstate, got out, and made his way to me. He looked me up and down, sadly, wiped off the concrete next to me and sat down. "How are you doing today?" The man was wearing a very nice tailored suit. The black and red went well together. It brought me back to that night for some reason. "Not great. If I'm being honest, I'm hungry and I don't have much to my name." The man reached back and pulled out his wallet. He ruffled through it for a few seconds and handed me 10 crisp $100 bills. "Don't spend it all in one place, my dear rich boy." What did he say? Something about spending. I don't care. I have $1,000. I can eat. I can even gamble. I can turn the rest of this money into a fortune. Hey, hold on. What's your name? I called after him. Just call me Sam. He looked back and smiled before getting back into his car. I went through the money over and over, just imagining what I could do once I get on my feet. The horse track, I thought to myself. My dad's horse hasn't lost a race in over a year. I can get this back. I left from under my bridge, making my way to my local Wendy's. I ordered a number 2, ate my fill, and started the 2-hour walk to the racetrack. When I got to the track, I made my way to the window and put down $990 on my father's horse. The devil made me do it. And I took my ticket. I sat down in the stands and waited for the race to begin. I lost. I lost everything. My entire life has gone to shit, and there's nothing else that I can do to make it any better. My family has kicked me to the curb. I'm broke, and the best I can hope for is a stranger giving me another $1,000 so I can hope to gamble it all away again. I made the 2-hour journey back to my tent, made my way inside and took the coil of rope I'd been saving for a rainy day. I took it outside and tossed one end over the lowest hanging branch, tying off the end so it was taut. I fastened the other end into a noose, slipped it over my head, and made my way to a sitting position on the branch. My last hope was that the years I spent in church would somehow override the life I had lived. I was terrible, but I still remained hopeful. I kicked off the branch, felt myself falling and felt the snap as it came to a stop. I felt my body swaying back and forth. I felt the tension around my neck and I opened my eyes. Veronica? Yes, my dear rich boy. Back again in the flesh. Veronica rubbed her hand down her face with her right hand and I watched her face change. A handsome man with piercing blue eyes and his blonde hair pulled out of his face. Please, we've known each other for what, 200 years now? But hey, I do make a fine woman, don't I? I stared at him, with my mouth open, still swinging back and forth. Speaking came much easier than I thought it would. Am I dead? Oh, my dear rich boy, you've been dead for so long. Do you remember being shot by that poor girl's father when you received no jail time after what you did? What was her name again? Julia, was it? It all came flooding back to me at once. I began to hyperventilate. What I did to that woman, the unimaginable amount of time that I've been here, the millions of times I've played out this exact scenario. I couldn't breathe. Sam just stood there, smiling. It was absolutely entrancing. I blacked out. Just be kind, dear reader. Be kind. Nothing more, nothing less. Here I am, once again, at my father's boring-ass hotel parties. But I will say, this woman in the red dress, Veronica, I believe I overheard. She makes it almost worth it being here. Hello listeners. If you enjoyed this story, please check out the author in the description. For more content, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more sinister readings.